the most wanted criminal in the world, is finally gone. For years, his name echoed through fear, power, and silence. A man who built an empire without showing his face, who controlled territories without ever being seen. But this isn't just the story of how he fell. This is the story of who he was, how he became untouchable, and what really happened on the day everything ended. Because the truth is, men like this don't just disappear. And sometimes, even when they fall, their world doesn't fall with them. His name was Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, but most people knew him by something else, El Mencho. Before the headlines, before the manhunt, before becoming one of the most feared figures in the world, he was just another name in a small town in Jalisco. No one grows up thinking they'll become a symbol of fear, but somewhere along the way, something changed. Some say it was survival, others say it was ambition. What we do know is that he learned quickly, and in a world where power is everything, he learned how to take it.
Power doesn't come overnight. It builds slowly. Connections, alliances, opportunities. And when the moment came, he didn't hesitate. After the fragmentation of older cartels, a new force began to rise from the chaos, the Cártel Jalisco Nueva Generación. At first, it was just another group, but under his leadership, it became something else entirely. More aggressive, more strategic, more visible. They didn't hide their strength, they displayed it. Convoys, weapons, messages meant to be seen. It wasn't just about control, it was about sending a message. We are here, and we are not afraid. And slowly, territory after territory, that message worked.
But here's what made him different. You rarely saw him. No interviews, almost no verified images, no public appearances. In an era where everyone is visible, he became invisible. And that invisibility turned into power. Because when people can't see you, they imagine you. And what they imagine is often worse than reality. Was he always in Jalisco? Was he somewhere else? Was he even still alive? No one knew for sure. And that uncertainty made him even harder to catch.
Governments don't ignore men like this. For years, efforts were made to find him. Operations, intelligence, surveillance. But every time they got close, he slipped away, like a shadow that disappears the moment you try to touch it. And over time, a question started to grow. Was he actually untouchable, or was he just one step ahead?
In the end, it wasn't a massive mistake that exposed him. It was something smaller, quieter, almost routine. In the days leading up to February 22nd, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was reportedly moving through the mountains near Tapalpa. Careful, as always, surrounded by a small, trusted circle. No unnecessary risks, no sudden changes, just another temporary stop in a life built on constant movement. At some point during those final hours, he met with someone. Not a large gathering, not a visible convoy, just a meeting. The kind that had probably happened dozens of times before. Controlled, low profile, forgettable. Or at least, that's what it was supposed to be. Because after that meeting, something unusual happened. He stayed. Instead of disappearing again into the mountains, instead of moving like he always did, he remained in the same location. A cabin, remote, quiet, hidden in plain sight. For most people, that wouldn't mean anything. But for those watching closely, it meant everything. Because patterns matter. And breaking a pattern creates an opportunity. Surveillance picked it up, movement slowed, activity stabilized, and one critical detail became clear. He was still there. Not passing through, not already gone, still there. That was the moment everything changed. Because for the first time in a long time, there was certainty. Not a rumor, not a possibility, a real, confirmed window. And decisions like that don't wait. Somewhere, far from the mountains, the information reached the people who had been waiting for it. Carefully, quietly, and then the order was given. Green light. No delays, no hesitation. This wasn't just another attempt. This was the moment they had been building toward for years. And by the time the sun began to rise over the mountains, the operation was already underway.
February 22, 2026. The mountains near Tapalpa didn't look any different that morning. Same cold air, same quiet roads, same slow rhythm of a place that feels far away from everything. But underneath that calm, something was already unfolding. This wasn't luck. It was the result of months, maybe years of intelligence, fragments of information stitched together, movements, trusted circles, moments of vulnerability, and then a window opened. Small, risky, but real. And this time, they didn't hesitate. Before dawn fully broke, the operation was already in motion. Helicopters slicing through the sky, convoys moving through narrow mountain roads. No announcements, no second chances. Only one objective: find him, stop him. Then, everything exploded. Gunfire shattered the silence, sharp, violent, echoing across the hills like thunder that wouldn't stop. This wasn't a clean operation. It wasn't controlled. It was a battle. For minutes that felt like hours, the mountains turned into a war zone, bullets cutting through the air, dust rising with every impact, the sound of helicopters circling above like something out of reach, but always present. On the ground, there was no distance, only chaos, only survival. And somewhere in the middle of it all was Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. Not hidden, not untouchable, but exposed. For the first time in years, he couldn't disappear. He couldn't vanish into the shadows. This was the moment everything caught up to him. The years of power, the years of control, all leading here.
When it ended, it didn't feel like victory. It felt abrupt, unreal. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was critically injured during the confrontation. There was no dramatic surrender, no final words, only fragments of what had just happened. And shortly after, he was gone, just like that. The man who had built an empire from the shadows was no longer part of it.
But what happened next was just as important, because the fall of one man triggered something much bigger. Within hours, the country began to feel it, not through official statements, but through fear. Highways blocked, trucks set on fire, entire roads turned into barriers of smoke and metal. Cities that had nothing to do with the operation suddenly felt like they were part of it. Businesses closing early, people rushing home, parents calling their children, "Don't go out, stay inside." Rumors spreading faster than facts. Videos appearing online, flashes of flames, gunshots in the distance, sirens that didn't stop. It wasn't just one place. It was multiple states, multiple cities, all reacting to the same moment. Because when a figure like Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes falls, the structure around him doesn't disappear quietly. It reacts, sometimes violently, sometimes unpredictably, and for a moment it felt like the entire country was holding its breath.
By the time the sun set that day, everything had changed. And at the same time, nothing had.
There's a belief people like to hold on to, that when the most wanted criminal falls, everything changes. That somehow things get better, safer, simpler. But reality doesn't work like that.
because men like Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes don't create the system, they rise from it. And even when they're gone, the system remains. The routes, the money, the demand, the business continues.
This is For Real.